Hey guys, welcome to another episode of I Swear We're Not Idiots. I visited the Old Licking County Historic Jail in Newark, Ohio. It was during the Food Truck Festival, so it was really busy outside, but inside we were able to explore without it being too crowded. I am going to be talking about some inmates that are there and some horrific scenes. There's talk about suicide, there's talk about beatings, there's talk about lynching, there's talking about murder. So if any of that makes you uncomfortable, this episode is not for you. Viewer discretion is advised. This castle-like jail was built in 1889. Once construction was completed, Andrew Creeley, the first sheriff to take up residency, had an open house to show off the new jail. 125 of the highest-ranking people were there to celebrate. The next day, the prisoners were moved in. The front of the jail housed the sheriff and his family on the second floor, and the jail matron, which was a lady who took care of the female inmates, was living on the third floor. The back of the jail had 4 floors of cell blocks and had a total of 32 cells. The total capacity was only supposed to be 68 prisoners, but the jail would sometimes have up to 165 inmates. Mattresses were thrown on the floor to accommodate the extra people. There have been 22 deaths in this jail, everything from heart attacks to suicides to vicious beatings. In the sheriff quarters on the second floor, it had 3 beds, 1 bath, and a parlor. Just on the other side of the bedroom wall sits the cell blocks. 4 sheriffs have suffered heart attacks in these living quarters. 3 died on this floor, and 1 died at the hospital. The first sheriff to die in the jail was Sheriff Ross Embry. His wife filled in as sheriff for the remainder of his term. She became the second female sheriff in Ohio. People feel uneasy in the sheriff quarters. Some others reported feeling dizzy and have even fainted. Batteries drain and shadows are seen in the hallways. The matron's quarters are right up these stairs. The matron's quarters has 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, a kitchen, and a commons area. Batteries have drained rapidly up here. EVPs and disembodied voices have also been reported to happen in the matron's quarters. The 4th floor is the women's cell block. The cells are slightly larger than the male cells due to no catwalks. 1 gruesome murderer was held here, Laura Devlin, the handsaw slayer. Laura and her husband lived on King Avenue, where the Newark High School now sits. One day in January 1946, 72-year-old Laura got into an argument with her 75-year-old husband, Thomas. Thomas threw a plate of food at Laura. Laura responded by beating him till he was knocked out. She then got her husband's sickle and handsaw and began dismembering Thomas. She threw his torso in the field next to the house and the rest of him in her wood stove, trying to burn the evidence. To cover up what she did, she wrote a letter to herself, pretending to be one of his cousins. The fake letter stated, while Thomas was visiting family in Philadelphia, he had passed away. The mailman who was friends with Thomas noticed he hasn't seen him in a while. He asked Laura where her husband has been. She responded, "He's dead." She then showed him the letter she claimed she received. The postman noticed a stamp was drawn on. The postman notified police, and once they arrived, they questioned Laura. "Where's Thomas?" Her response, "He's in the backyard." The police saw the disturbing scene. Laura was arrested and put on trial for murder. Her defense was she was in an abusive marriage. The jury found her guilty and charged her with homicide due to senile dementia. On March 11th, she was transported to the Lima State Hospital for the criminally insane. About 2 months later, on March 29th, Laura died of pneumonia. This cell sparked my interest. This is the cell of Mae Varner. Mae was a very depressed woman. On July 13th, 1953, she tried to commit suicide by taking a handful of sleeping pills. She ended up getting rushed to the hospital and got her stomach pumped. She was sent to Licking County Jail for safety concerns and so she could be monitored. While she was being transported from the hospital to the jail, she begged them not to lock her up. Mae was booked at 8 p.m., and then she was left in her cell. There were no other women inmates locked up at that time. 30 minutes later, the matron was making her rounds and saw smoke coming from a cell. She ran to the cell only to find that Mae lit herself on fire from a match she managed to smuggle in with her. Mae ended up dying from her burns. Let's head to the male cell blocks. There have been reports of cell doors slamming, footsteps, whispers, laughter, and apparitions. The second floor cell block held Carl Etherington. In 1910, Licking County voted to be a dry county, which meant alcohol was prohibited. Many people ignored the law. The Granville mayor became outraged and deputized numerous deputy marshals, giving them county-wide jurisdiction. Carl was one of the deputy marshals. Carl and the other officers attempted to serve warrants to saloon operators. One saloon they encountered had an angry mob. The mob attacked Carl and the other officers. Carl was getting beat and ended up shooting his gun in defense. He hit a former police officer, William Howard. That outraged the mob even more. Carl was dragged to the jail by police, and the beatings continued by the officers. News spread that William died from the gunshot wound. The angry mob got even angrier and headed to the jail. The mob grew to about 5,000 people. Once they reached the jail, the angry mob broke in by battering the door with railroad nails and a utility pole. They located Carl's cell on the second floor and beat him to death. That wasn't good enough for the mob. They dragged his lifeless body from the cell to the southeast corner of the square and lynched Carl from a utility pole. Carl was only 17 years old. 20 people were convicted of his murder. An EVP was caught of who is thought to be Carl saying, "Help me." The last place we checked out was the basement. The intake room is located down here along with the dungeon and the drunk tank. So Licking County Jail has a haunted house during spooky season, the Jail of Terror. So some of the stuff is still hanging around down here, and I'm not gonna lie, some of it scared the crap out of me because I wasn't expecting it. Reports say aggressive spirits are located down here. Some people feel touches, clothes being pulled, and chairs are being thrown across the room. Inmates were usually held down here while they waited till their cell upstairs was ready. I gotta say, I was very uncomfortable in the basement. If you happen to be in or around Newark, Ohio, you need to stop and tour the old Licking County Jail. And if you're here during spooky season, check out their haunted house. I plan on going this year. Do you?